So today's little project is to fix the key on the old Renault Runabout. Now what's happened here is quite a long time ago the covering on the key for this microswitch, for the locking switch, has broken, and rather than get around to replacing the case, which I should have done because they're quite cheap on eBay, we just carried on using it, pushing the little micro switch, and obviously that's now eventually failed, so needs replacement. So first job is to open the case or the shell of the key. There's one little screw here, so let's get that done. Okay, and then this has a little groove here which you can use just to lever the shell open. Okay, this side we don't need to worry about for the moment. What we do need to worry about is the board. So we'll also lever him out gently. Okay. And there we have it. This is this type of Renault switch often has 2 or 3 buttons depending on which functions the key opens. So in this case you've got an open, a lock and a boot open, and it's this lock one that's broken. So there's 2 ways to go at this. Firstly, I can either unsolder these 4 little joints here and swap a new switch straight in. Secondly, well, the alternative would be to see if I can replace just the silver and button piece that's on top of the existing switch, which is obviously easier and it avoids me potentially screwing things up by getting solder everywhere. Okay, so from eBay I found I could order very cheaply a new 3-button shell with a little set of switches that came with it. So I'll open these up and have a look. Okay, so here's the new shell. Whether I'll bother replacing the whole shell, I may just keep the existing bottom one, I don't know. Let's have a look inside this and see. Oh, that's nice. It even comes with a new battery and a new screw. That is good. Maybe I will replace the whole thing. But the bit I need to worry about first is the switch. Okay, so one of these little chappies. First things first, as it comes with the shell, I'd hope it would fit, but let's have a quick check on the size, or visual check on the size, and to all intents and purposes it looks identical. I don't expect any problem there, just the only difference being the slightly smaller red rubber button than the clear rubber one I can see on the original. I'm also blessed with the benefit of 3 of these replacement switches and 2 still working ones on the original board. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to give it a go to extract the little metal bit off the switch elements from this switch and just clip that straight on, which will be easier than soldering. If that fails, then I'll think about the soldering route. Now, this is really just a very thin little sprung steel clip on top of the plastic housing, so I may be able to just tease it off with my little pick here. Let's have a look. Nearly. Yep, that's just clipped off. There we go. So a tiny little bit of leverage with the pick and that's popped off. And there we have it. Now, of note, there's this little silver disc in there. Now obviously that's important to ensure the contact is made in the new switch, so we can't lose that element. We must make sure that disc, little silver disc, goes back in as well. Okay, so there's 3 parts to the switch, or the top case of the switch. There's the little bracket bit, the little rubber switch itself, and the little metal disc I mentioned we can't lose. I'm now just going to pop those on top of the switch. I'll need to use both hands for that. Plan A fails because little red buttons I have, whilst they'd fit soldered to the spot, I actually have slightly different clip design on the metal casing. So the red button doesn't clips nicely onto the old white button. So I'm going to go with plan B. Plan B, to get the main car opening and close going quickly, because that's the most important thing. I'm going to try and move this one over from the boot opening, separate boot opening one, which to be honest we rarely ever use, and stick that on there, and then I'll resolder in one of the red ones to this one when I get a time. Okay, so I can't quite get my plastic pick in here to pop the clips on this one, so I'm going to go with the tip of a very fine pocket knife and just see if I can use those to clip those off. Yeah. Okay, so this time we know this bit's going to fit because it's from the same type of button. And I'll just pop that on here. First, the little metal disc, the contacts. Secondly, little button, metal clip. Okay, there we go. That one appears to be clipped on. Clip, 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 clip. There we go. Now to go and test that on the car. Now the old blade should just pop out of there like that. Yes. And then I can slot that into the new shell, if it fits. Doesn't appear to, interestingly. There we go, not all these things are created equal. So my old Modus original Renault piece, we can clearly see there's a slightly shorter, fatter hole than the new shell. So it may be that the back end, hopefully, even if I can't use the back end of the shell, I can still use the new front side with the new buttons. So let's pop this back into the old shell and see if we can fit the new one onto that. The troubles were, obviously we can't use this part of the old case, massive hole in it, which is what's caused the problem in the first place. The blade for the key wouldn't fit into this new case hole, it's a slightly different shape. So I had to use a combination of the old base and the new top now, and in all honesty they did not fit together super easily. However, the good news is, by using a couple of hand-free clamps to gently squeeze it together at both corners simultaneously, it appears to have clipped into place, and I've been able to get the screw in, which is also ever so slightly larger than the old screw. So clearly these replacement items aren't always absolute perfect fit for all applications, as you'd expect, but it did screw through with a slight bit of extra friction through the blade. So what we have is the key back together. The buttons appear to press smoothly, apart from what will now be non-functioning boot opening button. I'm just going to go and check it out. Open sesame and lock. So there we have it, a few wrinkles along the way, but we now have a working Renault Modus key again. Obviously these kits, or the repair kits you can buy on eBay quite cheaply with cases and switches, aren't all identical to original spec, so worth noting and worth maybe shopping a bit more carefully than I did to make sure you get the right one. Or, as I've shown, even if the switches are slightly different, even if the cases are slightly different, you can often Frankenstein a bit of a solution together.